Man, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Hey, we're just gonna let a few people hop on, and then we'll start in about a minute. Hey guys, for those of you that want to participate in the chat in the group, make sure that if you do click the chat, it's not to the panelist only, but to the panelists and attendees. Because if that's the case, nobody can see what you're saying. So we're about to start now. Hey guys, welcome to the Family First Life new agent call that we host on Sundays. Today I'm very blessed to be able to have one of my good friends, Zac Tardowski, here with us. He is a three-time Hall of Fame producer, and not only that, he's built a $1.7 million business, monthly business. So wanted to be able to have Zac jump on and be able to share with you guys all these things that we're doing, because in our company right now, Zac has an accolade that nobody else can touch. And what that is the highest issue paid per writer. And for some of you guys who go, I don't know what that means. Well, it means that his agents on average make more money than any other agent in our company. So I'm very glad that he's going to be able to be here to share some of that information with us on what their agents are doing, how to get a brand new agent started. So Zac, hey, thank you, brother, for jumping on. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. And it's been cool to get to work with you and a bunch of guys on your team because we all learn stuff from each other. So I'm always just happy to help out and thankful for how much you've brought value to our team. So whatever we can do to help everyone get rolling, I'm excited about it.
Sweet. Hey, so let's say, a lot of these folks that are on this call today are brand new, right? They haven't gone to 20K. They're barely in contracting, getting writing numbers right now. If they were to work with you, how would you set the table for them?
Yeah, I think we talk about a lot with people, and what I would say to everyone is that you'll get a lot of information in the beginning when you're getting started, and it's easy to be overwhelmed by stuff. So I think it's important to only focus on things that can actually help you make money and protect families in the beginning, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that can distract you or kind of pull you off of that course. So I always break it down into three different categories. So, it's either making sure you have enough leads, making sure that you're ready for dial day, you get on the phones as quickly as soon as you submit contracting, you're getting on the phones and dialing, and you know what an appropriate dial day looks like, and then you know what to do once you actually get into the home. So, I mean, we can break those down a little bit more, but I would, if it's not one of those three categories, it's not going to help you in the beginning. There's no need to, learn AMS. There's no need to, learn about like annuities and all this other crazy stuff that's out there. I mean, you don't need to get the board member overnight. The first thing you need to do is get out in the field and make some sales, right? And then the rest of it will come. But everyone wants to like skip the foundation part, right? Like you coach basketball, right, Steven? Everyone wants to dunk and hit 3-pointers, but it's like you gotta learn how to bounce, pass, and do layups first, right? And if you go out there and you never played before and you start trying to dunk and just hit 3-pointers, you're never gonna be a good basketball player. So same thing here. It's like the foundation of what we do is making sure you have enough leads, getting good on the phones, and then knowing what to do and how to treat the clients when you get into the house. So I can dive in a little bit more specifically in each one of those if you want me to, or if you had any questions from there.
Definitely, I would love to. So, like brand new agents, most of these guys probably have not had a license before. And if they did, they probably came from a place that didn't have any leads. Why is our system so strong with the ability to have leads for brand new agents?
I think the best way I can put it is that FFL is always out and in front of everything else. And when I started, we only had, a mortgage protection mailers basically, right? And we've kept evolving as the world kept changing, which has allowed us to stay out in front. And where other companies are stuck in this era where they're like, we're only going to do mortgage protection mailers or only final expense mailers or only do our way, we've constantly evolved, right? And so when I started, it was all mailers, and then we moved to using Facebook leads, and then we moved to internet leads. And so I think the best way to put it is there's a crazy amount of diversity, and it's really easy to access leads. Like I had a guy on our group, Steven, who worked with a different company. He's been in the industry since he was 19, and he's 32 now. And the other day he called me and he was like, this is crazy because I used to have to wait a month and a half for my mail to come in. I had a dial day. I had like 60 leads. I got through them. I had 10 appointments. I went on and bought 50 more leads and set another 10 appointments. He's like, this is the simplest business ever, right?
Right.
So I think that's the nicest part, is that there's leads available now all the time. You don't have to wait extended period of time for them to come in. You just to go in the CRM, pay attention. And yeah, you may have to drive an hour, 2 hours to go run appointments, but people do a lot more traveling to make a lot less money in the real world, right? So I think that's the thing, is just there's leads available all over the country all the time, and you just have to be on top of it, and you can go in there and just literally cherry pick them whenever you want to.
So for like a brand new agent that, what's an average budget that you usually see in your guys' group? Because your agents, especially the new ones and all of them, do very well. What do they spend usually in the beginning to start off? And on that budget, what do you usually have them, blend their lead flow with?
Yeah, I tell everyone, if when you're starting, the absolute like bare minimum you have to start with is $500, right? And sorry, dude. Oh my gosh, I don't. Our new agent calls at the same time, and they can't figure it out. I'm babysitting, doing two things at once, and my ADD is not productive. I'm gonna just let them figure it out. Okay, so I'd say like bare minimum for your first dial day is $500 you need to spend on leads. Okay, and the reason for that is it'll give you enough leads to have enough chances when you're not good on the phone yet to get better and be able to set appointments. If you have $1,000, I go, you should buy 90 to 100 instant internet leads, right? If you have 500, you buy as many 1 month. You mix in some of the old mortgage protection mailers in there. They're $2.50 a lead, and you mix in some internet leads, instant leads, whatever. But what your goal is for each dial day is you want to have minimally 100 leads per dial day, right? And from there, all you need to do is if you have 100 leads, if you can manage just to sell one of them, the average premium, say you spend $750 on leads, right, Steven? The average premium's $1,320. So if you're at 100% comp, you'll get paid about $1,000, right? And then if you can make 2 or 3 sales, then you have a net after your expenses and whatever you do on the road, and say one falls off, where you're going to make net 2 to 3 grand a week, right? If you can only sell like 3 or 4 out of the 100 leads you had. But the biggest mistake that we see a lot of newer agents make, and in all honesty and transparency, I made in the beginning too, is that you spend $200 on leads, and now you only have 20 leads, and trying to make 2 or 3 sales out of 20 leads is almost impossible, right? When you're brand new learning something. Again, go back to the basketball analogy, right? Like if you gave me, like, you've been doing this for a long time, but if and I'd never played basketball, but if you gave me 100 free throws and you only had 10, dude, I'm gonna make more, right?
Right.
Like I'm gonna make more because I have so many more chances at it. And I look at this the same exact way, where we just need to have people have enough reps at it. And so if you're going to spend $200, don't just wait, or go get a part-time job or whatever. But the thing I always challenge people with, Stephen, is I'm like, hey, if I told you, if you gave me $1,000 today on Sunday, and by Friday I was going to give you $5,000 back, you'd come up with the money, right?
Yep.
And everyone will go, yeah. Okay, this is the same exact thing. The only difference is that you have to do a little bit of work in the middle in order to come up with the same result. But if you plug in and do exactly what we tell you to do, I've never seen it not work for anyone that works the leads.
Got it. Now, how much do they dial? I mean, especially since you said the 3 things they got to do is, they got to be able to buy leads, dial the phone, and be in the home. So now that we're focused on the second portion of that, how much do you teach them on dialing? Do they watch videos? Do they jump on live Zooms? Like, what do you guys teach in your group to get agents in the field fast?
Yep. And the other thing to mention on leads real quick, just so everyone has a quick overview of them, there's the age mortgage mailers. They're $2.50. Okay. Those ones are like 3 to 5, maybe 10 years old. And you're calling them because most agents won't do annual reviews of their clients. So you're calling them to set up the time to go out and review everything and make sure that you can either get them a better policy or add on policy coverage for wife, kids, whatever, right? Then you have the 3 and 1 month internet leads. Those are leads that are at least 1 or 3 months old, and they're $3 and $4 a piece. And then the new internet leads are about a week old, and the instant ones go in instantly. And I look at it like this for everyone. So the instant ones, you can expect to set, when you're brand new and not good on the phone, 15% of them. If you get better and you're like Steven or Easton or one of these guys that's really good, you'll maybe set 30%, right? The 1 month in the new leads, probably about 10 to 15%. And then the mortgage mailers, anywhere from like 5 to 20%, just depending on how good and how skilled you are on the phone, because those will be a little more difficult. And just so everyone knows, if you go to like a third party lead vendor and go try to buy internet leads, they're like 35, $40 a lead, right? And then with those ones, you can request, if they have a bad number, a bad address, something, you can request a credit. But FFL set it up where they discount all of them at 11, 9, $3 or $4 a piece to account for all of that, so you don't have to go in and keep requesting that to happen. So going in, if you get 100 leads, there's probably going to be 10 to 15 people who are going to put false information on there because they're phoned out online, right? Like I did the other day when we were where I was looking at a car, right, Steven, and I plugged stuff in online. I put a fake email and a fake phone number in there, right? So like I know people are going to do that, but understand that there's going to be a big chunk in there that are I'm just saying, like, don't go and request lead credit. Know that that's already built in to the platform FFL is set up. And if you want to request lead credit, you can go to a third party vendor and spend 30, $40 a lead. And then every time you have one bad lead, then you can request credit, but it's going to be a lot more time consuming. So I just wanted to throw that out there too. As far as dial days, this is what, like, if you're a new agent, Steven, this is how I kind of break it down with you. I go, hey, so the way this is going to look is whatever time zone you're in, we have Zoom dials on our group starting at 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. We go all the way till 7 p.m. Eastern time. Okay. So you'll be able to jump on no matter what time zone you're in. Really what you need to do is start at 7:30 in the morning. And I know it's going to sound crazy. I'll explain why in a second, but start at 7:30 in the morning, have all your leads ready to go, have them all sorted out, know which day you're going to run each area. If you have 2 different areas. So like say you're in, Colorado, and one day you're going to run in Denver, the next day you're going to run an hour north in this place called Fort Collins, right? So like know which day you're planning on running each different area, have it all organized ahead of time. And then when you start dialing, have your schedule structured out right. What you're going to do is take all your leads and you're going to dial through them all, and you're going to dial them all 3 times in a row. Okay. And what's going to likely happen tomorrow, you're going to make anywhere from probably, 350 on the low end to maybe 700 dials on the high end. You're going to talk to anywhere from like 70 to 100 people. You're gonna have a lot of people tell you no. And again, it's like anything else, right? And I use this analogy all the time with new agents, Steve. And I go, hey, if you told me tomorrow I had to go run a marathon and I started doing it, I'd get 3 miles in and probably drop dead because I have not trained for it, right?
Right.
That's how it's gonna feel on the phone a little bit tomorrow. But if you gave me a month or 2 and I did it every day, I'd be able to run a marathon, right? So understand that it's gonna be a lot worse in the beginning. It's getting much easier, and your dial days are gonna go from where you're making 600 dials, then you're gonna be making 300, and you'll be done by 1 or 2 o'clock. But in the beginning, be prepared for long dial days, okay? Talking to 70 people. The good news is out of those, you only need to set 15 of those appointments, and that'll give you enough shots where you'll set 15 appointments. Maybe you'll sit with 8 to 10 people, and then out of those, you'll close half, okay? The reason though, Stephen, that we tell everyone to start at 7:30 in the morning and dial with everyone 3 times in a row. So like if your name pops up first on my list, I call you, you don't answer. I call you again, you don't answer. I call you again. And then if you answer, great. If not, I move to the next one, do the same thing. But the reason for that is that telemarketers can't start dialing till 9 a.m. Other insurance agents won't start dialing till 9, 10, 11 a.m. Okay. So we want you to stand out from them so that people answer the phone. And again, telemarketers and other insurance agents won't call you 3 times in a row. So the entire point of us doing that is to show that we're not a telemarketer, we're not a salesperson, and let us stand out and actually get people on the phone. Right. And they're not going to, I know you think they're going to be mad at you because if someone did that to you, you'd be mad, but you're also not filling out a form online asking for insurance. And these people are not going to be mad at you. Right. So that's how I set people up for dial day. And I want to do that because and sometimes it'll be better, dude. Sometimes, like I had a guy the other day that made 300 dials and set 15 appointments his first dial day. But if I had told him that he was going to make 150 dials and get rich overnight, then he's gonna be mad at me. So I like to go, it can go as bad as this, but even if it goes that bad, you're still dialing for 6 hours and you're going to make a bunch of money doing it. So does that make sense?
Yep. Makes perfect sense. Now, do you guys get on and how do you guys teach your agents how to dial though? Is there a specific phone script? Do you just have people watch training? What do you guys do? How do you guys teach them that?
Yeah, we have our phone scripts on our new agent website. And I think you guys have phone scripts on yours too. And then we have people, get on and dial while they're listening to other people. And then a lot of our managers will do smaller little breakout groups where they'll go if you're a new agent, I'll go, hey, Steven, why don't you come dial with me for a little bit? I'll listen to you dial and I'll coach you up a little bit. So a lot of our managers do stuff like that with their groups as well.
Nice.
And then the thing with phone scripts is I tell people they're good, but the sooner you can get to the point where you're not reading verbatim off of it, the better, because you're going to sound less robotic and less like a salesperson. So I think they're good. I think you should look at them, review them and everything, kind of make them your own, maybe make some bullet points and some stuff you want to definitely hit on every time that's important. But your whole goal on the phone is to sound as little like a telemarketer as possible. So as soon as you start robotically reading off of a phone script and it doesn't sound natural, then they put you right back in that category where you're just a telemarketer again.
Right. Got it. So now that they have the phones, they're on the phones, and they're making the calls, they book some appointments now, right? Do you tell them to study product knowledge? Like what what do you guys do in terms of like the way to break it down the easiest form? How do you guys now teach them, quote unquote, how to sell?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically too, if someone goes, hey, I want to learn about products or all this stuff before, I go, hey, so the nice thing about products is that, and it's the same way we explain it to clients, right? So they're all state regulated. And basically all that means we work with a bunch of different companies, and how you're going to choose the product for the client is just based on their age and health, which we're going to teach you when you're meeting with the clients. But there's no special bells and whistles or anything like that to any of the products. All you need to know is there's ones that have a term, and all that means is that it lasts a certain number of years and goes away. There's ones where you get the money at the end, you get the money back at the end of those, and then there's permanent products. That's the only stuff that we have, and that's the only thing there is in life insurance. And how we're going to figure it out for your client is just based on their age and health and what they're looking for. So what we're going to do, Stephen, is once you get your 15 appointments, you're going to call me in every house. I'm going to show you how to use the underwriting guides and everything, your first 10 or so appointments, and then you're not going to need my help anymore. And it's really simple.
Nice.
And if you ever do need my help, though, and you're not sure what to write someone, I'm always going to be here. But I'm just telling you, like, it's not going to be difficult for you to figure it out, because we're not doing anything crazy for people. We're just keeping it simple and getting them insurance, and we're just filling a request that they ask for. So we don't have to pitch them on anything. You're not going to go through and sell them on any specific product. Dude, I bet if you went back to all my clients and go, hey, what company do you have insurance with? They'd probably go, I don't know. Zach set it up for me. Like, we have a policy over here somewhere, right?
Yeah, if it was
but
Zach.
like, I never went. Yeah, and dude, I always wrote Americo, right? But I never went, hey, Steven, we're definitely gonna get you Americo. It's our premium carrier. I just was like, hey, I'm gonna shop around for you, figure out what the best possible situation for you and your family is. If I need any assistance, I'll call our home office and they'll let us know. But we're gonna, take care of everything for you and be able to look at all the different carriers for you. And then at the end of the day, they don't care. Do they just want to have insurance? They want to know that if they die, it's going to pay out. And they want to know that if you're coming there and sitting with them, they want to look you in the eyes and go, if I die, is this dude going to be there to make sure my family gets this paid out? That's all the clients are looking for. As far as like when we get actually in the house, I have people keep it really simple. And there's a few things. And like, I think the simpler you can keep the in-home, like one thing I learned early on, Stephen, and I'm not good. I didn't like sales. I don't like salespeople that much. I don't think anyone really does, right? They don't want to be sold to. So what I was constantly thinking about with my in-home was, how can I make this as least salesy and most comfortable for the clients as possible, right? So I just looked at it like order taking and asking good questions. So when you're a new agent, just know, like, if you find yourself talking the majority of the appointment, you're doing it wrong for sure. Like, I think that in the perfect world, you're talking maybe 25% of the time, asking them good questions. They're talking the other 75% of the time. And the only time you're explaining something is when you go, hey, just so you know, this is how this specific product we're going to go with works, and boom, 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 boom. And that's after you've called Steven or whoever and they tell you what to write. How I always opened in-home, and I think it works with every lead type, is it doesn't say Steven filled out an internet lead. When he's 70 years old, I go, hey, Steven, I assume you filled this out because if you pass away, you don't want to be a burden on someone. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Who would that person be? Are you married or kids? Or let's say you're not married, but just because your wife would be there. So is it one of your kids or grandkids, or who are you looking to leave money for?
My daughter.
Okay, cool. Daughter. Where does your daughter live at?
She lives out of state.
Okay. What state she live in?
California.
Got it. What's her name?
Juliana.
Juliana. Okay, cool. She have kids, or is she married or anything?
Yeah, she's married. She got 2 little ones.
Got it. What are their names?
Bryson and James. I don't know.
Bryson and James.
I got to make this part of.
No, I got you. Yeah, no, good. Wait, what does she do for work?
She's a registered nurse.
Okay, cool. You like her husband? He all right, or he passed the test? I guess. Right. Cool. Awesome. And then, okay, got it. So 2 little kids, and then, so for you, were you just mostly concerned that if you passed away, you want to make sure your burial's paid for, or did you want to leave her a little bit of money, or do you have some major debt that you were kind of concerned about?
I just don't want to be a burden to her and her family when I die. So, yeah.
So mostly just the mostly just the funeral stuff. Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, just to make sure that they don't have to do a car wash, or ask family members for money.
Got it. And then in a perfect world, would you want to leave her any extra or just enough to just to cover the funeral?
If I can, if it's affordable, if I can, I would like to.
Okay, cool. So basically, okay, so we need to make sure minimally the funeral is covered. And then if you have extra money left over in your budget, we'll leave her a little bit extra so that, some sort of legacy or just something nice to leave her behind. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
All right, cool. So wait, so just so you know how this works, Steven, I don't have any like crazy presentation or flip card for you. I didn't bring my projector. So just so you know that I work with a whole bunch of different companies. My job is to go through and ask you a few questions based on age, health, income, that sort of stuff, and shop around for you and figure out what the best possible fit for you is going to be. I have a decent idea based on what you told me now where we need to go. But I ask these questions just because it's a state regulated, so I have to make sure I'm doing my job correctly. It should take about 5-7 minutes, and then from there we'll be able to run some numbers. And then I don't actually get to make the final call on this. So what we'll do is we'll submit an application to whatever insurance carrier is the best fit for you, and then they'll be able to give us the thumbs up or thumbs down. Does that all sound fair?
That sounds fair to me.
Cool. So to recap the in-home, like I always like to establish why you're there, and then I like build rapport. Like that's how I like to build rapport, because it's about something they actually care about, right? If you're like, oh, Steven, I like your curtains, they're like, dude, this guy is just trying to be some scummy salesperson, right? But I go, hey, so you filled this out because you need life insurance. Like, tell me about for who? Oh, cool. And then you start talking about their kid, like, and it makes sense, right? Because it's like, oh, if they're getting life insurance for someone, it's someone they care about.
Yep.
So, and people like to talk about stuff they care about and people they're proud of, right? So it's a really natural way to build rapport, and you can be a little funny. Like I always ask, I'm like, oh, you like the husband? Is he all right? And I got some wild answers sometimes, but it just broke the ice,
Right.
Sometimes it'd be like he's great, sometimes it'd be like he's not so great, like so. But ask about the grandkids, and then it just builds natural rapport that is also relevant to the appointment. Because a lot of times they'll go, yeah, my daughter's single, she has 2 kids, she's a teacher, she makes 34 grand a year, right? So then you can go, okay, so basically like leaving her with a $10,000 to $15,000 debt would really put her in a bad situation, right? Yep. Okay, got it. So I see why we're here, no problem. And then jump in and explain what the process of the appointment looks like. Now, then you'll go ahead.
I was going to ask you, I'm assuming, because most of the guys that are here that are new, they don't probably understand this. Are you using a financial inventory? Like how much time does that save you? Or are you just asking questions just to ask questions?
No, I use the financial inventory. Everyone does it a little bit differently, like which one they use. So I would, just go with whoever you work with does. But I always just use the one that had the mortgage protection one, because it asked about their debts and stuff like that on there. But everyone does a little differently. It doesn't matter, but it does matter that you use one, because it builds structure into your appointment. And then if Steven goes, why do you need to know that? I just go, dude, I don't know. It's on the sheet here. It's just part of the process. Yep. I just got to know. And people for a while fought me on that. They're like, well, I know all the questions on there. I'm like, dude, I do too. I've been doing this for like 3.5 years, but it's a really easy way to jump back into. And the other thing I like too is if we got off topic, right? We're talking about, I don't know, like World War II and some, whatever crazy, they'll take you way off track sometimes, right?
Yep.
I'll just go, hey, Steven, I'm sorry, man. I have really bad ADD. I got us off track. Let's jump back in. And I point to the sheet. Let's jump back in here anyways. So what medications did you say you're on? And it just gives you a lot of credibility, and it lets you have an easy way to redirect the appointment back into where it needs to be going, rather than spending 2 hours talking about all kinds of crazy stuff. And people will do that. They'll take advantage of your time. So you have to be good at pulling them back into the appointment.
Right. I think for me, it's like the financial inventory it gives you structure, especially as a brand new agent, more than anything else. Like a lot of new agents are so scared, right? Because they're like, we've never done this before. We don't know what to expect. I'm like, dude, just ask the questions on there. It says name, aged, age, retired or working, what medicines do you take? Do you currently have life insurance? Like that's you don't have to make up questions. Those are already there for you to ask. Right. Yeah. And so like, if you can get through that as a new agent, like you collected all the information you needed for your support team to be able to say, hey, Brandon, I think you should lead with Americo because this product is going to do XYZ for them or whatever. Right. So I just find that funny, because I was talking to, one of our fellow colleagues, and one of their top agents didn't use a financial inventory for like 6 months. And he was wondering why he wasn't selling 40, 50 grand a month.
Yeah.
And he was like, I thought I was supposed to report them to death. And I was like, dude, none of us do it that way except for you. you
Right.
know, and I like the way what you were talking about is like, I remember when I was brand new, I thought I was in sales,
Yeah.
right? Because it's life insurance sales or whatever, right? So like I would go in and be like, wow, Bob, it's a beautiful trophy case over there. You know,
Yeah.
Mary, I love, wow, the china that you have in the cabinets are beautiful. Dude, they don't care.
It doesn't
They don't
work.
care.
Yeah.
They don't care. You know, there's just like most of them. And what I found out for those of you that are brand new, I learned really quickly when I would walk into the home and I remember one time a client said, dude, you're not here to talk to me about furniture. Let's get through with it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh shoot. So I jumped
Yeah.
right into the financial inventory and he bought. And I stopped doing it ever since. So cool, man. So obviously, I mean, not as much in your group compared to everybody else's, but when you are, I mean, you work with folks that write 20 grand the first month, 20, some write 20 grand in like the first 2, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then there's some people that don't. What is the biggest difference for those that do and don't?
Yeah. I think the best way I could put it is that the people that do just go, okay, the people that are here already are obviously not special. They're not lying to me and they know what they're doing. So I'm just going to plug in and just do what they like. The best example is Calvin. You met him, right? He came into
Yep.
the Vegas office. He was like, dude, I'm just going to do exactly what you tell me to do. And I wish I had had that attitude more in the beginning. I had it somewhat, but not as much as him, right?
Right.
Like I was like, I'll do it. And then I had to kind of like mess up a little
Think
bit and
about
then
it.
be like, okay, now I'm going to do it. But he was just like, I'm just going to do exactly what you tell me to do. And and I'm like, it may seem, some of this stuff may seem crazy and like it's not going to work, but it does. And we know because there's people that came before, like Steven and I, and we've like tested some, and just we've seen it all, and we know what the most effective way to do this is. And the people that don't seem to make it want to do everything their own way. Like they'll dial on Monday for a little bit, and then they'll set an appointment for Monday at 2 o'clock. They'll go run that. They'll have an unorganized schedule. You know, they won't want to call in the house. They won't order the products before. Like those are the kisses of death in this business. Because you,
Right.
and I understand if you want to do it. I do, because it's like you want it to be like something more than it is. Like you want to make it seem harder than it really is, right? But if you understand, it's just so simple. If you do it at a high volume, the numbers are always going to work out.
Right.
And like the best way I could, I guess, explain it, dude, when I started in 2018, that year I ran 30 appointments a week the entire year. Like I did not waver from that, right? And like in January, February, and I started like December, okay? And so of 17, January, February, March, I was closing like probably 25% of the people I met with, running 30 appointments a week. And I was writing like 20 to 30 grand a month, right? And then as the year progressed on, it just kept moving up because I kept my activity the same. And then I started closing 50%, writing 40 grand a month. And
You
then,
got better.
yeah. And then, and I'm not saying this to like, I'm not trying to say this to be arrogant, but I just want everyone to know what can happen. Like, and then 2019, I kept the same activity and I did 400 the year before. And then I jumped up to 600 the next year, same activity. And I started closing 60, 70%. And then 2020, same thing. Went up to 700 in 10 months of the year, same exact activity, but you just get better and more comfortable and you'll start closing 80, 90%. But in the beginning, dude, it's not, if you close 25%, I've done this like this like kind of problem with people before, but it's like 1,500 appointments for the year. If you close 25% of those, if you run 30 a week, it's like $526,000. Okay. So like if you really suck and you only sell 25%, but you run 30 appointments a week, you're going to make a ton of money.
Yep.
But that's where the rub is that people want to overcomplicate it and go, I need to work on my in-home. I need to work on this or that. It's like, no, you just need to get in front of enough people because if you see 10 people, 2 of them are going to buy no matter what. You could walk in and say, I hate your carpet. It looks stupid. You know, like, I don't like you very much, Bob. He's like, whatever, just give me the insurance to get out of my house. Like there's going to be people that are going to buy no matter what you do.
Right.
And the magic happens when you keep doing it and being more confident and calling Steven and going, hey, I messed this appointment up. What do I need to do better? And then you get to 50, 60, 70%. And it doesn't grow like this, dude. It goes like this, like when
Yep.
your skill set gets better and you get more confident.
Yeah. So, I like to tell brand new agents, like, if we put it like on a 100% scale, like 25% of people will buy no matter who shows up. Like no matter if you showed up, I've showed up, Sean, or a brand new agent, they're going to buy. Why? Because they fill out the form, right? 25% of people were also not going to buy no matter who shows. It doesn't matter if Zach shows up, I showed up, Sean, Mike, or you. They're not going to buy. That's just who they are. The 50% is where your skills come in. That's where, as you get better, that's where you get a pickup from 25 to 35, 45, 55, all the way to 75 and above. that's where the skill set, the training, learning and talking to other agents, shortening your learning curve, intensifying your learning curve. That's where that, that helps you out as an agent. So,
Yeah.
because
One other thing on that, Stephen, the biggest change. So like in December of 17, I wrote 11,000, and then January was like 12,000. Okay. And then I went to like 30 after that. And what I changed in the middle there was I started, I stopped talking to everyone else who was where I was at in the business that was doing the same stuff. Cause the first few months it's comfortable. You want to talk to the people who where you're at. But if you're spending most of your time talking to people who are doing what you're doing, it's really hard to get better because you guys are just bouncing stuff off each other, and you're not going to grow.
right.
So then I only started calling and asking for help from people who were where I wanted to be. So like at that time, there was this guy I worked with named Wayne Carr, right? Who's still here. He's great, but he was writing 40 grand a month. So I started calling him, and I would go, "Hey, Wayne, I had this appointment. This is what happened. What did I do wrong?" And what I was doing before was I was calling other people and going, "Oh, like this is what happened. Like these clients were so dumb," and all this negative stuff. And then I started going, "Hey, I just assumed I assumed he would have closed it." So I started calling and going, "Hey, this is what happened. This is what I said. What could I have done differently?" And I just let him coach me up on it. And then he was able to tell me, like, you could have done this, or you could have done nothing. So I
Right.
think until you're writing 50, 60, 70 grand a month, you need to call someone else and ask for their help and not be above. I'm talking to like people like yourself and Andrew and Grady Pulse and all the people who I'm like, I want to get to $5 million a month as a business by the end of the year. So I'm only talking to people who can help me get to that point. Right. So I think it's important. And for a while, I lost that. I remember when I started writing about business, I didn't do it. And it's like, dude, Tom Brady still has coaches, like Tiger Woods has a swing coach when he was the best golfer in the world. So you're never above getting help and getting better. And I think that's what being humble is about, is just knowing you can always improve.
The other thing is they can see gaps in you that you can't see. Right. That's the reason why most of those guys that you name have coaches, because you can't see your in-home presentation. It's funny. It's like, actually, we'll talk about this right now, real quick. I had a gentleman that I was working with that couldn't close the door. Like he was bad, right? And one day I was like, you know what? Like I don't believe anybody can be that bad. Like I don't believe it, right? So I said, do me a favor, when you get in the in-home, I want you to record the audio of the in-home presentation and just send it to me. And he did. And like when I listened to it, I was cringing because he was like offending the client. Like, but he didn't know he was. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, duh, that's the reason why you're not selling, is because like you're making fun of them indirectly. Like you shouldn't be saying those things. And once we fixed that, man, like started selling more, surprise, surprise. But it's because he couldn't see that. And see, the thing I will tell you, for those of you on the call, is like don't ask advice from people that are not there. So like if your goal is to be a 20K producer, go ask somebody that's written 40. Because if you did half of what they will tell you, you do 20. You know what I mean? Like if you wanted to have $1 million business, go talk to someone that has a, $500,000 business and above. Like talk to the people that are there and beyond. Because when you linger around the circle that you have, you won't grow. And see, the other thing, the second part of that is, and I'm trying to be politically correct here, don't be an ask hole, right? The guy that asks questions from people, and then when they give you the advice, you don't implement it. Like that's like the slap in the face. Or don't be the guy that goes, yeah, but like I already do that. No, you don't. Because if you did, you would already been there. Like the worst thing that you can have when you're an agent is like, I call Zach and I'm like, hey Zach, I didn't close this because I said this. What would you have done? He gives me an answer and I go, I did that. No, you didn't. Because you did, you would have closed the business. You know what I mean? So like take the advice and implement it. That's the best thing I can tell you as a brand new agent. Is like when I was brand new too, I called Joe, Trey, and Andrew. Whether I sold it or not, I said, hey, this is what happened. What can I do? And I just shut up,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where your learning takes place.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, like, just so everyone understands, like, be easy to work with, right? Because like we're all independent contractors, and if you're not easy to work with, then whoever you're working, whatever manager is not going to want to work with you, and it's not their fault. They're going to work with people that are easy to work with and are productive. So, just be a sponge, be humble, and ask for help, and they'll be able to help you out. Otherwise, if you don't, it's just going to be tough. It's going to be a tough business to be in.
Right. Right. Do you have any like things for mindset, right? Because like this can be an emotional roller coaster. Like, how do you deal with agents when their highs are too highs and their lows are too lows, right? Like they sold a policy and they made $5,000. They're like, higher than a kite. And then like next week, they get no show like every single appointment. Like, how do you keep that guy even keel?
Yeah, I try to get out in front of it as much as we possibly can, so like I tell people this a lot, and this happened, it was not last week now, it's the week before, but Jake Conan went 0 for 15 over the weekend.
Right.
Right? And he's written, I think I looked at our report, he was at like 650 grand for the year so far. He's number 2 agent in the company, he writes a ton of business. And so I like to tell people that I'm like, hey, just so you know, this is going to happen where you have times where you don't sell 15, where you go 0 for 15. Okay. But the reason it doesn't affect Jake is because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, he got back on the phone Sunday because he had a bad weekend. He set 24 more appointments. He ended up writing 20 grand Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. Which is a lot, but I mean,
Right.
it's will happen. And the reason it doesn't affect him though, is because he always has enough volume to where the numbers don't affect him. Because if you run, God forbid you run 8 appointments a week, dude, and then you have that stretch where you go 0 for 8, and then next week you still have that stretch where you go 0 for 7, then you're out of the business, right?
Right.
But the reason it doesn't, or if you run 15 appointments a week, you could have a whole week where you don't sell anything. But it won't ever affect you if you run 30 to 40 appointments a week, because eventually you'll get back on track and you'll go sell a bunch of insurance. So the best way to make sure you don't ride ups and downs is don't look at the result you're having. Don't look at don't make your goal to run like 15, make 15 grand a week or 10 or 8 or 5 or whatever. Make your goal to run 30 appointments a week. And I mean, this goes for a lot of parts of life, right? But like you want to be obsessed with the process, not the end result, right? So if you make your goal to run 30 appointments a week and you hit that, then you did everything you could. The numbers will work out or they won't, but they're not going to ever be a 0 if you run 30.
Right.
Right. But it can happen if you run 10 or 15. So that's what I used to go up and down all the time because my goal was to write 15 grand a week. But then when I started running 30 to 35 appointments a week and made that my goal, my goal was run 34 appointments a week. When I made that my goal, I hit it. I knew I did everything I possibly could, and the numbers were going to work out however they would. And they usually worked out between 10 to 20 grand a week.
Right.
So I think you just have to be obsessed with the result. And then I guess on the phones, another thing I did too to help is because the phones can be the frustrating part for people, right? But I mean, I always looked at it too like this. I'm like, I've worked some pretty terrible jobs that are not nearly as bad as the phones, right? Like I remember I worked on the oil fields when I was in college in summertime, Stephen, to try to pay for everything, right? Because it paid well, but that's no joke, dude. And especially if you're like a temp worker like I was that did 4 months out of the year, they make you do all the bad
Dirty
stuff.
stuff. Right.
I'm trying to not cuss because I just got, but anyway, so like they make you mix cement and be in the sun for 10 hours a day, and it, dude, it's hard work. So I always remembered that when I went to complain about being on the phones, right? But the other thing I did too is I always made it a goal to have, my goal every dial day was to get 100 people to say no to me on the phones.
I like that.
And I think everyone should make that their goal, because when you're dialing, it helps you have the right posture where you're setting the correct appointments, and mentally it gives you a win either way, right? Like if someone picks up the phone, you're winning either way. Either you set the appointment, which is a win, or they say no and it's a win. You get to check it off your list.
Right.
So that helped me not get bogged down by people telling me no on the phone. I'm like, oh, I got my no, cool. And I was always like in my head, I was like, if I ever get to 100 no's, I'm going home and I'm going to the bar or something, dude. I'm getting out of here if I get 100 no's though. And it never happened. So I think that was a good way to mentally like keep you sharp, because then you don't get real negative on yourself. You're like, cool, it's just one of the no's I needed to get to my 15 yeses.
Right. I like that because you can have a bad day. Some
Yeah.
people might have a bad week, but if you run 30 appointments a week, you can't have a bad month. It's not possible. Like you might write 15 grand one week, 7 the next week, 4 the other, and then 10 at the end. Like you'll still be fine. The numbers will always work out. Can you talk about how new agents,
and the roller coaster when you're between 30 to 70 grand is way more fun than the one between like 8 to 20.
Yeah,
because like it's just a lot more fun of a roller coaster. It's just when you hit the big month and you're on fire, you're like, oh, this is great. But on the other side of that coin, if you're doing the 15 appointments a week, then you're going to go between, you have a month where you maybe issue 8, you might get to 25, and you'll get smoked by chargebacks if you do it that way.
Right. And it's funny you say that because, when you go from 30 to 70, that roller coaster, like your low months were your previous highs, that's the fun part. Can you kind of talk about, because I see a lot of new agents make this mistake where they've never made the money they made with Family First Life, or they came from another IMO And so like they smash it the first week, first month, whatever it is. And then they go on vacation. And it's like the worst thing they can do. Right. Can you kind of talk about how do you prepare an agent for that so that they don't hurt themselves? Because what will happen, right? Like lead rolls up, chargebacks, don't have money to buy leads because you spend it on your vacation. Can you kind of talk about that? Like how every agent makes that mistake?
Yeah, and I think what I did to keep, because it's like it's important on the other side of that to be able to enjoy time with your family and do stuff like that, right? So rather than going, I'm never ever going to take a vacation the rest of my life, I would always set my appointment goal for the month for 120 appointments, and I was going to hit it either way. And then if I wanted to take a weekend with my wife and go somewhere real quick for vacation, quote unquote, like where I was still just on the phone with agents, then I could take those 3 days and I would just work the appointments into my schedule throughout the rest of the month. So that's how I did that. But and what happened, dude, I remember what that happened to me. I think it was midway through 2018. I had a really good month. We went on vacation. I went, to be honest, I went to Cabo a lot my first year because I was up and down because I was like, oh, I'm just selling a lot. I'm 22. Like, this is great. And what kept happening is I'd have a good month. I'd go somewhere and then I would take like a long time off and I let the momentum totally go. And when you're learning something, like no matter what it is, right? Again, to go back to the marathon runner analogy, like if you train hard for 3 months and then if you train hard for 3 months and then you take a week where you go get drunk and eat hamburgers all week and McDonald's and stuff and smoke cigarettes all week and you go back to try to run, you're going to be out of shape, right? So, and momentum is, I don't really understand exactly how it works, to be honest with you, dude, but I know it's a thing and it's really hard to lose. So
It's the hardest
when
thing
I
to
was
gain
like,
and the easiest thing to lose.
yeah, it's easy to lose, but when you're in a rhythm, if you keep the same activity, you won't lose it. So like my thing was always like, once I got to the point where I was just doing 30 appointments a week and I knew 30 appointments a week would get me minimally 50, 60 grand a month, I was like, I'm just going to run that schedule forever until I get out of the field because I don't want to deal with losing momentum.
Right.
Because what can happen, right, is we're in advanced business. Depending on who you are, 20 to 30% will fall off, maybe 10 if you're real good, right? But somewhere from, probably 15 to 30% is definitely going to fall off the books. So say you write 20 grand a month and you take the whole next month off, right? Then from that $20,000, you're going to have $4,000 fall off, right? You go spend all your money and then you come back and you owe America $4,000 and have no money for leads. It's a hard hole to get back out of. It's like starting back as a new agent. It's like you just
worse
reset
because now
everything
you're
that you
4 grand
had
in
going
the
on.
hole.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
actually
And then you
worse
get in
than
your
starting
head.
as a brand new agent.
Right. So, but I think the best way to do it is just let people know it definitely, if you take a lot of time off, we're in advanced business and it will hurt you. So make appointment goal for the entire month and make sure you always hit that. Yeah. Right. So you can take a week off. That's fine. But you have to make it up on the front end and the back end. Right. So say you run your goal is to do 120 appointments a month. Okay. Then that means if you're taking week 2 of the month off, that means week 1, you're going to have to run 40 appointments. Week 2, you're going to have to run 40 appointments. Week 3, you're going to have to run 40, or week 3, you have to run 40, and week 4, you have to run 40 to make up for the 30 that you're missing. Right.
Right. Right. That makes sense. Hey guys, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A. We'll hit them in about 5 to 10 minutes. Zac, anything else, man, that you see that new agents might struggle with, that if we can help them understand now, then by the time they get there, they're like, oh man, I remember that one call with Zac. He said this. Don't do that because that's the warning sign. You know what I mean? So is there anything besides the vacation and all that stuff that we just talked about that if you can help someone, brand new, get to 20 grand, get to 40 grand, 60 grand, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. So on the training side, like getting on this training, the TNL, any of your guys' team calls, that's all good. And that's what that average producer does. Okay. So if you want to write 8 grand a month, great, do that. But like if you want to excel in this business, find people you can relate to that you like the way they approach stuff. There's so many trainings on YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. Find someone you can relate to, kind of copy what they do, and then make it your own, right? And then, like we talked about, make sure you're calling and staying humble and asking for help consistently. And then understand when you start getting better at this, what can happen is people start thinking that they're like the magic sauce and they forget what got them there, right? They start going, oh, I wrote 15 grand last week. I bet I can do this on 8 appointments now. You know, and you forgot the activity that got you there. So you have to remember, and you start messing up in-home stuff. You skip steps, whatever. So you just have to reset yourself and remind yourself. And this is difficult, right? Because it's like we want to be good at stuff, but just remind yourself this is a simple business. I mean, you're going to see someone that filled out a card for life insurance, and you're helping them with life insurance. So like you selling them a policy, I don't want to hurt anyone's ego, but that's not a big deal, right? And I think if you can remember that you're just doing your job and it's not complicated, then and remain humble, then you'll do fine. But if you start thinking like, oh, I'm so good at this, then I don't know what karma or something will smoke you and it'll go down. And I know because I've done that before. I'm like, I got this. I don't need to do all this other stuff I was doing. And then you have to kind of go back and just plug back into the basics again.
Yeah, ego's a big killer. Yeah. You know, I always say we're a part of the sale, but we're not the sale, right? It's kind of like if I went to Nike and bought a pair of shoes and the guy from, you know, the Nike store goes, hey, what size would you like, sir? And I'm like, size 10 or whatever, right? He grabs it, he brings it back out to me. I want it. I take it to the cash register. I buy it. Dude, that guy had nothing to do with the sale. And that's how our clients are. Right? Like we just happen to be there to be able to take the application and send it to the insurance company. It's that simple. So, but I love what you said, man. That's awesome. Hey, so Don had a great question. I think this lead to one of the things I do want to talk about, which is working weekends. She asked, if you need to start a part-time status, would you plan on buying leads, I'm assuming, on Monday and dialing them on Thursday to run on the weekend? Would that be a good start?
Yeah, so it depends on your schedule, but say you work a typical 9 to 5 schedule. This is what I help our part-time people set up is I go, hey, so you're going to need to run 15 appointments over the weekend if we want to do this. And this is if you're part-time with your intention to go full-time. Let's go with that version. So I'll go, okay, Steven, you need to make $4,000 a month to replace your full-time income, right? Okay. So we can't miss that if we do 15 appointments a weekend. So I need to make sure, you know, whoever you need to tell is on board with that, wife, kids, husband, whatever you got going on. I need that they need to know. Okay. And we need to make sure that you have anywhere from 80 to 120 leads ready to dial for Thursday and Friday so that you can set minimally those 15 appointments.
Right.
So especially in areas like where like we live in Las Vegas or Southern California or Colorado, there are a lot of leads that come in those areas, but you have to stay on top of it, right? So I would recommend, you know, and this goes for everyone. So like say your data is Monday and you're done dialing on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you should be buying leads and stockpiling them up for Thursday for your next dial day. So same thing for the part-time person. Like on Monday, you should start maybe 3-4 times a day minimally, get on there, buy whatever leads are in your area until you have enough for the dial day on Thursday. And then, so say you work 9 to 5. So what I tell everyone is what I would do is, you know, get home, whatever you got to do, 6 o'clock, start dialing at 6, dial till 9 o'clock. And your goal is to set 15 appointments between Saturday and Sunday. And so you're going to do that on Thursday and Friday. So Thursday, you're going to dial for Saturday because it's only 48 hours out. Friday, you're going to dial for Sunday. And then the last part of the week and that you'll want to schedule for is Saturday morning. So you want to set up, you know, Saturday afternoon, Sunday first, and then leave open Saturday morning in case you don't get your schedule fully booked up, because then you can again dial from 7:30 till 9 or 10 a.m. on Saturday to fill up the rest of your weekend.
Dude, I love that. Another question that I wanted that I got is so the people that are doing 50K, I don't think people are doing 50K a week, but I think
there's maybe a couple.
Yeah, but I think the answer is 50K a month.
If you ran 70 appointments a week, you would probably write 50 grand a week.
Yeah, but most people are running, you know, most people are running 30, 40 appointments a week because the goal is for you to what? Book 30, sit on 20, close 10 for 10 grand.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's the average numbers that we see here. So sometimes if you see a big number, it can be an annuity. So
yeah,
but that doesn't help because.
And that, yeah, I mean, and when you're brand, I mean, like I wrote 700 in 2020. Okay. In like 10 months of the year. And my best week was like 20 grand. So I just did it every week. There are people that go out and have huge weeks and we see that stuff, but it's not the norm.
Right.
And, so I, you know, just to err on the side of caution, I would just do like 30 appointments a week. You don't need to write 50,000 in a week. You know, there's no reason to do that. If you run consistently, then you'll have much more predictable income than if you do 50 grand 1 week and take the rest of the month off. So that's why I always did 32, because I could predict my income really well, right, Steven?
Right.
Like I would do 30 a week, and then I go, hey, we're gonna invest in new stuff for the business. Maybe we're gonna buy a new house or a new car or something. I go, okay, how much more do I need for that? This amount. Okay, well, if I add 5 appointments per week, then I know that will give me enough money to do that, because I knew exactly what my income would be by running a consistent schedule.
Right. Rocky asked, the toughest thing for me is to book 30 appointments. I'm buying instance and age mortgage protection leads. Even with phone burner, I'm not coming anywhere close to that. I had an awesome June, fell short of 20K. What can I do differently?
I think a few things. So if you're near an office, you need to get into the office. If not, you need to find someone to get on Zoom with you and help you out on the phone. And then the biggest thing I did when I was new is, on dial days, Steven, I would think I was dialing all day, and then I would look at my phone. I'm like, dude, I've been scrolling through Instagram for the last 2.5 hours,
Right.
I'm watching ESPN on my TV because I'm not. So I say that to say, you need to get into an office if you're nearby one, or get on with someone on Zoom that can help coach you up and dial with you and teach you what you're doing wrong on the phones. Because if you're making 500 to 600 dials in a dial day, then, and you're not setting 15 appointments, then you just need to tweak something on the phone. And it's usually a really simple fix, maybe just some way you're some verbiage is off or something like that. But if you did 20K and it sounds like you weren't running 30 appointments a week, then you're right in that you only need to add extra 10, 15 appointments a week to get to that 30, 40 that you want to be at.
Right. I think the answer too can get back to, lead budget, right? So if you're only spending 2,000 for the month, shoot, I
thought you were saying 2,000 for the week.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like if you spend $2,000 for the month, I don't even write 20 grand on $2,000 worth of leads. You know what I mean? But if you spend 4 or 5 grand a month, you should be blowing past the 25, 30 appointment mark, no problem. So Zach, here's a question that's very interesting. A lot of people hate dialing, so they actually want to quote unquote hire an appointment setter or a dialer. How stupid is that?
I never had one. I think that's not true. I hired one for one day. I went and ran 10 appointments and I got no-showed all day. And I was like, damn, if that person didn't live in a different country, I would fly there and get thrown in jail probably. So I always did it for myself, because two things, right? I think you'll always do the best job because you're the one actually buying the leads, and you're the one that's going to actually set the right appointments, because you're not going to want to drive around all day and get no-showed and see people. And all kinds of crazy stuff will happen with dialers. They'll say, oh, they just have to come over. They'll give you like a gift card or whatever, all kinds of crazy stuff, right? So I always wanted to know the appointment, because my time was valuable to me, right? I'm like, if I'm not out making money, I want to be spending time with my wife or doing something productive with my time. So my time was valuable to me. So I wanted to know the appointments I was going to were good. And I don't, whoever said dialing sucks or they don't like it, I don't know, dude. I don't know. That's hard for me, because there's a lot of hard jobs out there. And I think, I don't want to say pathetic because that's not the right word, but I just think that's a really, really terrible excuse to say you hate dialing. It's like, then go back to what you were doing when you're making $15 an hour. It's all good.
Right. I think it's the fear of rejection.
Yeah.
Is probably
what are they going to do? Jump through the phone, dude? It's okay. It's all right. You'll be okay. They can't jump through the phone. It's all good.
And they're not saying no to you. They're just saying no to having life insurance or no to you coming over. So it's so funny that you say that. Another good question is, can you go over chargebacks and how to, lower the percentage of them, I guess, persistency, right? What did you do to strengthen your persistency in the home?
So I always, because there's not like a lot you can do after the home. I always had my assistant call a week later and go, I'm calling from Zac Tardowski's office just to make sure you received your policy, everything makes sense. So I would have her do that. I don't know if that helped or didn't help. I think the biggest thing is making sure the sale is solid while you're there.
Right.
Like and I know there's people probably doing this on this. I used to do this too. And dude, my 14-month persistency when I started was good. Then it went down to like 68% with Americo. And then when I finished in the field, it was like 80% again.
Nice.
And what I changed in there is I stopped ever writing business for someone that was like not sure about it, right? So if you're going, hey, we're just going to put this through to see if you get approved, just know that is not a sale. It's going to charge back.
Mm-hmm.
So write real business. And what I mean by that is if Steven goes, hey, Zac, so can I cancel this? I go, Steven, we talked about your daughter and that she would really need this. Why would you cancel this ever and risk putting her in that situation?
Right.
And what we don't want to have happen is we apply for insurance, you cancel it, you apply again, cancel it, then you're not gonna be able to get insurance. So I just tell me now if this is something you don't want or need, because we won't do it. But you did tell me it was important to you and your family, right? Or like if someone like a lot of people go, you know, hey, can we think about this? And they'll go, yeah, no problem at all. We're just going to put the application through, see if it gets approved, and then we can think about it. It's like, stop doing that. Don't do that. It's not a sale.
Yeah.
Go,
Asking.
hey, Steven, you told me how important, and that's usually because people don't do a good job of uncovering the why in the appointment, right? So go, Steven, you told me X, Y, and Z reason was why you needed this. Do you feel comfortable with me, and does the product make sense to you? Yes,
Right.
it does. Okay, got it. And you said you need it, right? Yep. I just want to think about it. Perfect. So I assume the only reason you're saying that is you're unsure of your budget. Is that correct? Yep. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna do then today is start with this lower option here that we know definitely will fit in based on everything you told me. And then what I would need you to do is check your budget for the next month. And if you think you can get more insurance, call me and we'll increase it. But we're gonna get this one in and locked in today so you have something in place. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
So it's just making sure that you have solid sales in the appointments and then closing it up well, right? So the way I would always go is, just so you know, you all are stuck with me now, Steven. So if anyone else calls you or anything like that, let me know and I'll meet them here. And plus, you don't want some, and I don't want to offend anyone, but you don't want some old white dude with a briefcase and a pocket protector coming over and upselling you on a bunch of stuff you don't need, right? So if they do come over, let me know. I'll come over and meet you here and we'll take care of it for you. And then they'll laugh a little bit. And I also let them know my job is just getting started, just so y'all know. So if something does happen, and I've had like 22 death claims, so I really do mean this, right? I'm like, and I tell people that too. So if something does happen and you pass away, I need to make sure that your kids have my contact information. So I'm going to give you a couple extra cards to give to them, or virtual cards if you have that to send to them. And my job is, when you pass away or something happens to you, to make sure that that money gets paid out as quickly as possible to your children. So I want to make sure that they have my contact information and they know that I'm going to be here to make sure that your policy gets paid out to them.
Love it. All right, man. Hey, last question. I think it's a good one too. What are some tips for minimizing no-shows, and do you call to confirm before going to the appointments?
So I never call to confirm. What I would always do though is I would always give people a window. So I'd go, hey, Steven, I got you down for 4 o'clock tomorrow. Now, as you know, traffic and whatnot can be crazy. So just do me a favor and give me a window between 4 and 5 to get there. I'll definitely be there. And if I'm late, I still wouldn't call them. And they'll almost 90% of the time, they'll always be there. Even if they called me beforehand, I wouldn't answer. I didn't answer my phone while I was in the field for any numbers I didn't know, just because I wanted to make sure I go to all my appointments. One tip for the phones is, people are going to forget. No matter how good you are on the phone, no matter if they write it down, if they tattoo it to the freaking arm, they're going to forget sometimes, right? So what I would always try to do is figure out their schedule. So like, say it's you, Steve. Hey, Steven, so you said you're retired, right? Tomorrow, do you have anything going on? Do you have any doctor's appointments? Are you planning on staying at home all day, or what does your schedule look like for tomorrow?
Might go to the market and all that stuff.
Okay, grandkids or anything, or just have the market thing going on?
No, just the market going on tomorrow.
Okay, so what I can do is I can get over to you around 8 a.m. Is there any reason you will have left the house by then, or you definitely be home by 8 o'clock?
Should be home.
Okay, should be home or you will be home, because I need to make sure you're there. And the only reason this takes about 10 minutes, I see a lot of people every day, so I just need to make sure you're there so we don't have to go through the whole thing where we reschedule this. So does 8 o'clock definitely work, or do we need to do a different time?
8 o'clock definitely works.
All right, I'll see you at 8, man. Hey, do me a favor, have your ID out, and just like I said, we're going to take about 10 minutes, go over a couple health questions. I'll let you know what you qualify for, and I'll get out of your hair, okay?
Yep. Dude, that's money. So,
and if you do it like that, dude, then I always have them tell them get their ID out, because a lot of times they'll like get it out then and put it on their table, and they'll see it and they'll remember, And I also wanted to set it up to where they would be home no matter what, because what I would get a lot, probably 2 or 3 times a day, was I'd come over and they'd be like, I forgot you were coming. Like, no problem, I'm here. But I did it on purpose because I knew they were going to forget. So I wanted them, even if they forgot, that they would still going to be home, because I knew their schedule.
Sweet.
So I don't think there's like, people always go like, you could do tie downs and all this stuff. I'm like, I don't know if that works. It works kind of, but I think it's better just to know exactly when they're going to be home. So even if they forget, they're still going to be there anyways.
Right. I love that, man. Well, hey, thank you so much, Zach, for hopping on a Sunday, right, of all days, to be able to share this with our group and all the new agents that we have on the call. Hey guys, we have our live dial sessions tomorrow. They start at 7:30 Central Time, all the way to, I believe, 6 p.m. Central Time. So for those of you that want to hop on, the information will be in our Slack groups and all that stuff, or our Facebook groups. The other thing I will say too is this upcoming Tuesday, we have a get to 20K call. So it's where we teach agents how to write 20 grand in the first month. or as quick as they can. One of the gentlemen that we're featuring is this gentleman named Chris Chavez. And Chris came from another practice company, and he wrote 22,000 his first month here at Family First Life, which is more than he made in his entire year at the previous company. So Chris is going to be sharing those nuggets. That call is at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Put that in your calendar as well. Zach, once again, thank you, brother. I appreciate you. And if there's anything I can do for you and your group, please let us know. We definitely appreciate you taking time helping us out, man.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
All right, guys, let's go have a great one. We'll talk soon.